I'm in a dilemma. I basically just sat down thinking, and I was just YouTube or I go to Sweden. I guess I realized that I would be more comfortable with.
Jonny Curren.
What up?
Welcome, man.
How's it going?
Good. It's obviously I'm sporting this because I know
Yes,
you
sir.
are also a huge
It's
Man
good.
U fan.
I would have left if you didn't have it on.
Exactly. That's why I repped it.
Yeah, yeah.
But also, as we shared, I did a podcast with someone earlier who's also a Man U fan. So it all
It worked
aligned.
out.
It
It
all
worked out.
aligned. And I actually
Yes,
thought
it
like,
worked
should I actually change? And I was like, no, like just gonna. It is what it is. It's meant to be that both these
If I
people
saw
just
if I saw
love.
even anything else, I would have questioned this.
I'm trying. I used to have some Chelsea jerseys back in the day,
Yeah, you
but
did.
yeah, yeah. All right. So for those that don't know, my dear friend Johnny, so you played for three clubs: Ventura County United, the Eagles, and FC Golden State. You attended and graduated from Simi High. You got identified, which I did not know, by FC Golden State because of your dad posting one of your goals on Facebook. And again,
Yes.
I had no idea about that, which is so great to find out these things. You also won nationals. Congratulations with
Thank
FC
you.
Golden State. Huge accomplishment. You have the potential to play in Sweden, so we'll dive a little bit more into that. But ultimately, you did not go. You are currently coaching, which is awesome,
Yes, sir.
and you are a member of Four Funny Guys on YouTube. That has,
For
correct
fun.
me. Oh, for
Yeah.
fun, for fun. My bad, my
Nah,
bad.
you're good.
Uh, and you have 1.29 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah, something like that.
Congratulations, man, to you and
Thank
your
you.
whole team.
Thank you.
Um, and thank you for correcting me
Yeah,
on
yeah.
that. Um, so when you look back, what was it? Was it a moment? Was it your older brother playing? Was it your dad coaching? What started your love affair with soccer?
I was honestly just like born into it. A big part was my brother. Obviously, every younger brother wants to be like their older brother. So it was just like every tournament I played, I went to. My dad was coaching, so he was like, "You're coming with me," and I was just like born into it. So every day I was just like, that's what I was into. Like I
Mm,
wasn't into like I played video games and all that, but wherever they went, I went. And my brother's like 6 years older than me, so he was like busy at the time with soccer. So I was like stuck in completely. And then I
mm,
just fell in love with it like that. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so here's a fun follow-up question with all of that. Do you think there's actually a correlation with your dad being a coach and your brother also having been played in the midfield that led you to also being the architect within your teams by also playing primarily in the midfield? Or was it just happen, just it just happened, but like I just feel like there's like a some sort of a
Yeah,
correlation there.
dude, I honestly think it was just my brother played it, so I wanted to play the same exact thing. And then
Mm,
when I did trainings with my brother, it was just like for that specific position. So it's just
mm,
like I was just like stuck with that position at like 6 years old.
man. So essentially you were training with Sam and like based on the work he was doing to be successful in that position, you started doing it.
Basically, it was just all small touch, just checking your shoulder, all the simple things. Like we weren't fast, so we never
Mm,
worked on speed. It was just like all
mm.
quick touch and just so it was just born into it basically.
Yeah, it's interesting, obviously as you get deep into the game, you start to kind of understand all the, ins and outs about it, but wingers versus spine players.
Yeah.
What is it about playing in the spine that you just like relish? Because you have a great smile in general, but like you also have a big smile when you coach and you play. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like you just feel so at home in the middle of the field. Like, what
Yeah.
is it that you can reflect on? Like, oh yeah, I love this part.
Dude, I just love being involved.
Mm,
I feel like it's just you do you get the ball so much. I'm not a big defensive guy. I just the whole attacking part, picking it up from the defenders and just going forward or just
Mm,
receiving it from everyone. It's just because like when you're, let's say center back, your main focus is just one thing, and when you're forward, your main focus is just one thing. But in the midfield, it's just like you got to do everything, and
mm.
I just enjoy that part.
So looking back on that development, like not in terms of it allowing you to go further in the game, but let's just say maybe adding just that little bit more to your game. What would you have added? And what would you, if there is anything that you would have subtracted from in terms of like outside training? Like what would you have done and what would you have maybe not done as much?
I would have definitely worked on the defensive side more.
Mm,
Definitely, you know that. I wasn't a lot of it was just because I feel like a lot of that was mental.
mm,
So I guess working on the mental side of the defending end. So I don't know how you could really work on that rather than it's kind of just like a you thing.
mm.
So I guess find a way to work on that defensively probably would have been the smartest choice. And then subtract. I focused a lot on shooting. Everyone loves shooting. That's like all I did for every day. I would at least shoot like for 30 minutes a day. That's like all I would do. So I'd probably subtract a little of that to gain a little more of the defensive side.
It's kind of fun that we're having this conversation because, yeah, like it was almost like it wasn't the understanding of defending.
Yeah,
It was like the physicality
it
of
was the
like, yeah.
yeah, it was the mental side of it.
So what's interesting is now that you coach, and we'll kind of hold that off, but do you remember? I mean, this is the story that I was dying to talk to you about. So I'm curious if it rings bells to you. It's
Okay.
amazing how I remember it clear as day. We had to do evaluations, and we did at Violindo, and it was on those benches right there to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
right of the
yeah.
field. And like you're like what 12,
Yeah,
and you're like
I was a
sitting there,
child.
like you're just
Yeah,
like you're like, but what's and you know what's so funny too, though, Johnny? I wish that someone mentored me better on doing evals because essentially it was like, hey, we gotta do evals. Here's your template, and then like
yeah,
go do it. Like so I remember it was like, yeah, like technically, like you're improving, and like you love this, and you're doing great in this, and it was like you knew it was coming, and like
yeah,
I remember when I brought it up, what was so great about having a father who coaches and a mom who's obviously really involved as well. They didn't say anything and they allowed it to happen as like I
yeah,
feel like it should in terms of like player to coach. And like I said, the only thing that you need to work on is like you just get, like almost like getting stuck in. And it was
yeah,
like, especially as a six, as you know, like now, especially more, like there's those moments of like tactical fouls that, I'm sure you probably developed into. But
yeah, yeah.
um what if you could remember like how did that help or did that make it worse? Like
Did the evaluations help?
in terms of like me going like you're doing all this great, but
Yeah.
because I remember you got teary eyed because you're like
Dude,
12.
I was a small kid. I was so sensitive. I knew what was coming. I'm like, I was dreading that whole, I don't know exactly what was said. I just remember dreading the whole conversation for like a week. I'm just like, oh my,
Oh,
I know what's happening. And I was
oh
just like
man.
dreading it. It's not your fault.
Yeah, no. Well, yeah. I don't know. I guess so. Let's. You know what's funny? Let's remix it. Let's go back.
Yeah.
So it's like now I would ask you really good questions, which at 12 though would be hard for you to answer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Regardless, I would say, Johnny, what is it about defending in these moments that make you hesitant? And then maybe you would say something, and then I would say, okay, let's work on maybe moments in training to help you become comfortable in these moments
Yeah.
because it's not about being able to do it perfectly every single time. It's about minimizing the mistakes and maximizing the opportunities. But I want to help you become more comfortable. Like, see, like I couldn't have said that
Yeah.
8 years ago, however long it was.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I mean, I wouldn't say it helped, but I wouldn't say it like didn't help. It was just
Mm,
like I knew what was coming already. I feel like if you don't know what's gonna be said, then it's for sure gonna help. But since I knew like the one, like we talked about it all the time, we knew the one flaw
mm.
like clear as day. So it was just like yeah, I don't know. It was just I feel like that was a me thing. It was just I had to figure it out myself.
Which goes into another part of it is it didn't stop you though, like in terms of the value that you brought. And I feel
Yeah,
like, and I feel like in some situations, coaches will look at, or even maybe even parents, unfortunately, would be like, you're not doing this, and that's the reason why you're not going to play now. And I feel like it didn't hamper your playing time. It didn't hamper your
yeah, yeah, yeah.
development. So I feel like coaches and parents should not look at the negative. They should look at both sides. And obviously,
Yeah,
like you said, you were aware of it, but it didn't like stunt you from your development. Like
yeah.
you still had the the potential to grow. Um, what when you look back before we go into FC Golden State, like what were your moments that you really look back at the time with the boys that we had, that you just like, oh yeah, I remember this, or yeah, I remember that? Because like for me it was, we were so successful, and then I knew, and then we had that meeting, I told the parents, I'm like, this year's gonna be hard, like
Yeah.
we're gonna have to play a whole different type of system, which worked to an extent, kept us alive. But obviously too, it's not necessarily the most enjoyable at times, but like, so for me it was like just seeing how much you guys develop, and had so much success, like tournaments and like leagues and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Like obviously it's all great, but also too, you guys are a pretty tight knit group, which also was fun to be a part of. Like I feel like our sessions were just, everyone was so excited to
Yeah,
show
it
up and
was
like
yeah.
train. But like for you, what were your moments when playing with that group?
It wasn't really games, to be honest. It was more of like the practices. I don't know
Mm,
why. I fell in love with flying changes because of like the group we had and because we always did it, which I think is the best drill, by the way. I think flying changes is like number one.
okay.
But it's just like when we show up, we do our session, and when it was flying changes, we'd all get excited and we were just like ready to play. It was always
Mm,
competitive, always good spirit. It was just like so I think it was the practices that like were the most exciting part, which I think is a good thing. Because I think a lot of kids like dread practicing, which is like which I think to me means like you don't enjoy it.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm. Yeah, no, we had, yeah, we did a lot of different stuff. And we were actually reflecting on recently about soccer tennis. And
yeah.
actually, you guys were the first group that I did it with. I'm not sure if you know that, but I remember clear as day when we were going from the summer of Silver League going into Gold. I was like, we have to start, changing it up and doing some different stuff. And I remember we started doing soccer tennis, and I really felt like that just trajected your guys' touch.
It's so important. You look at these Brazilians playing volleyball with their feet, and it's just like their touch is amazing. I think it's definitely something that should be played more out
Mm,
here because it's just a fun game. Everyone enjoys it. It keeps, but like you're working at the same time. So I think it's a good drill to do. That's for sure.
yeah. So let's talk about your transition. Like I said, I know your video. So what kind of goal was it
For
for FC Golden State to like reach out and be like, come on over here?
it wasn't even me. My dad did it on his own. Yeah,
Okay,
it
that's a,
was. So I was 16 at the time, and
mm-hmm,
my dad was basically like, okay, if you want to like try and go somewhere, you're gonna have to like, get an opportunity. And he was
mm-hmm,
in like a Facebook like group space of just like whatever. And he posted my goal and from high school. And I guess the manager from FC Golden State hit him up, was like, hey, we need a center mid. We obviously don't know how good he is, but we'd like you to bring him out just to see how it works out. And then it just worked out from there. And then well,
wow.
actually, I did 3 training sessions and then COVID hit.
Oh,
So then we took a break for like 6, 7 months. So I'm just sitting at home, and then we come back, and it was just everyone's out of shape, and then we had to get back into it. Yeah.
Mm. So obviously you won nationals with that group. Congratulations, by the way. That's a
Thank you.
huge accomplishment. What was it like? Why your team?
Our squad was just honestly, this was like the one time where I was just like in shock about how good like these players were. Making the
Mm,
change from like my local like team to that was
mm-hmm,
just like a lot of those guys are D2, some play D1. Um I think it was the system we played as well. It was perfect for the occasion. We weren't a full defense team. We were like pure go forward and just attack, which I think worked out with the because a lot of people go into big tournaments, they sit back just to see, and we're just like we were just going forward. And
mm,
then when we'd get a goal, we'd sit back a little more, play our system.
mm.
But also, it's just a good group of guys, to be honest. I think morale, team spirit is a big thing. If no one's getting along, no one's like friends with each other, it's never gonna work out.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about that.
Yeah.
The chemistry's got to be there, 100%. So what? Talk to me a little bit more about like the system because I'm just intrigued because I know what by the end of our time together we played a 4-1-4-1 and it
Yeah.
was pretty much like a mid to low block to survive, and hopefully
Yeah. Yeah.
counter. And all
Yeah.
of our games were like 0-1 or 1-0 or like 1-1. Um, what was your guys' system like?
Yeah, so we always, no matter what, played a four back. It would switch from like either 4-2-3-1 to a 4-2-2, 4-3-3. But no,
Mm,
we played like a Liverpool system. No matter
mm,
what, our outside backs are up at all
mm.
times. So they would get forward. Um, they had to be fit. Like I think outside backs for our team is the worst position to play. I would have passed out. I don't know how they ran that much. But it was
Respect.
it all started with the outside backs. It was just our whole attack would go with our keeper, play to the outside back. We all go forward, and it was just like we lose the ball, win it quickly, and then all the outside back go up again. So it was really just like Liverpool with Trent and Robertson.
Man, that's crazy. What was the switch like? Meaning, so you went from your local maybe comfort zone to now going
Yeah,
out of your comfort zone. And for someone who is a little bit more reserved, unless you get to know you, then you're
yeah, yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
who you are. Like, how was that? Like, were you nervous? Were you kind of like, I'm not sure if I really want to do that, Dad? Like, I'm kind of cool
For
just training
sure.
here.
Yeah, I was it was super uncomfortable. That's for sure. Because it was just like I'm playing with all my friends. I was comfortable. It was just like a good situation to be in. And then he's like, "Look, you're going." So now
Mm,
he has me driving an hour to training sessions every
mm,
week to play with these guys. I have no idea who they are,
mm.
and they're very talented. So it was more like a. It was definitely uncomfortable for me, for sure. But after a couple months, it was like it started flowing. And I was glad I got to do it for sure.
So I have two questions within all this. So, would you advise someone to leave earlier when you realize that your surroundings are not pushing you? That's the first question. Two, what allowed you to say to yourself, I can hang with these guys?
For the first question, 100%. I
Mm,
think you got to put yourself in a situation that's gonna get you exposure.
mm,
And I think a huge thing is you need a team. I think GOT soccer for the US is huge. I
mm.
do. So
Okay.
our manager, we'd scrimmage a team. If they were high rank, you put in GOT soccer to improve our rank. And that's how you get opportunities. You get into like the Dallas Cups, you get into all of the big tournaments.
Hmm.
So I definitely think you need to I switched late. Me and my parents talk about it all the time. It was like one of those, it was like I was 16, 17. It was just they wish they took me at like 13.
Mm.
So I think definitely I would advise that you try to find the best team that you could go to give you the opportunities. And then two, our first scrimmage is when I realized that I think I could hang. So like
Mm,
with practices, it's like obviously you can fit in. You never really
mm-hmm.
know. You have to play, but then the first game you have to play the system and realize like obviously it wasn't perfect because I'm very like keep it relaxed and what they were just go forward. So it was definitely a learning curve, but from the first game, like I realized I was capable for sure.
Mm. So to finish off this moment with FC Golden State, tell me about the like final game. Like, did you guys see this team before? What was the score? Where was it at? What was the what like give me the lead up to winning it? Like give me like a little summary of
Yeah.
that pinnacle.
So this game was we've never played this team before. The team we played in the I think it was the semis actually. We played in regionals to get to nationals in the
Mm,
final and we lost 1-0. And the so in the regionals, like the director or whatever was like, look, we want your team still in it. You're very talented, blah blah blah. So then we somehow get in it still. We see the team we lost from the finals and the semis. We beat them 3-0. Yeah. And then we went to the final and it was a very conservative game.
mm.
Very conservative. We scored in the first like 6 minutes
Oh wow. Okay.
off like a header. Our forward was this was honest. This guy was probably one of the best players I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it stayed 1-0 the whole game. It was just like it honestly was like one of those like oh the game was kind of boring for a final.
Yeah.
But it was I mean, if you're up 1-0 and it's boring, I guess it's working out. So yeah.
What was the celebration like? Was it like, or like for you specifically, like did you tear up? Was your mom and dad
Yeah,
there?
so I was off at that time.
Mm.
Um my dad was just sitting in the corner. Um all right, we basically just rushed the field. My coach actually started was the one who started tearing up.
Oh.
This meant everything to him, which was it was a very like I was more excited than like happy like crying.
Mm.
But yeah, it was a good experience for sure. Like everyone was just you know how celebrations go.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, on top of the world basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So talk to me about Sweden, and because I do remember hearing that conversation floating around, and then obviously it ended up didn't working out. But like what? So tell me like post FC Golden State, and then like the potential and how that came about, and then like why ultimately you decided not to go.
Yeah, so during my when I was like 18, my last year at Golden State, my brother knew this guy from high school. He was just posting how he's like playing in Sweden professionally. And my brother was like, "Oh, do you still wanna like I can text him for you." So he texted him. He's coming down for the summer, like their season's over, so he's coming down. And my dad and my brother knew him since like they were little, kind of.
Mm,
So um my dad was like, "Hey, well, like you can come train like with Johnny and see what's up." So we started private training, me and him for like a couple months together.
mm.
Just like doing one-offs. We actually coached senior youth together during the summer.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was just like we were hitting it off and he was telling me and my dad how he can bring me out there. It's obviously not like a set. He's not like, "Oh, you're on the team." He's like, "I know uh some people where I can just like maybe give you like a tryout to go and
Hmm.
see what happens." Um and it was one of those it was at the time I was also doing the YouTube thing
Mm.
and it was one of those decisions where it was either
Oof.
YouTube or I go to Sweden and if I make it I'm staying there basically.
Hmm.
Because I didn't want to go and make it and then have this tough decision of where it's just I'm in a dilemma or I regret something forever.
Hmm.
So and I'm very comfortable. If I'm comfortable, I like don't wanna you know that.
Yeah.
But so I basically just sat down thinking and I was just what was best for me and I guess I realized that I would be more comfortable with the staying here and doing the YouTube thing, which I mean I don't regret at all. But I'm definitely curious if I would have gone out there and seen what the level would have been like.
Mm-hmm.
just so I mean I could tell you the story, but yeah, it was basically just trained with him. He was like, I could give you a tryout, and I just ended up not going. Yeah,
I mean, you ultimately made the decision, which
yeah,
it sounds like is why you made the decision. So like you were in control of like, nah.
yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, that would have been interesting to have seen, especially just with how
yeah.
much you grew. I mean, for those that don't know you, like you're like how you're 6.
1, 6'2".
Yeah, you're
I
so
dude, I was
modest.
like,
You're so humble, man. Like you're definitely
nah,
6'2", bro.
I was like 5'5" my sophomore year in high school. It just happened. I was just like,
Dude, when you
honestly, when
start eating,
COVID
man.
hit, when COVID hit, I just woke up and everything didn't fit.
So COVID got you taller.
I think so.
That's so wild. Before we get into other like say high school soccer and that kind of stuff and like coaching and obviously like your YouTube channel, if you could go back and now you are a coach, what is it like having a father who is a coach and a very passionate coach? Like, were there times where you would have appreciated maybe a different approach? Or I don't know intimately also how he was outside of the game. Because I have my relationship obviously with your father, but it's like, what was it like to have someone who is a coach, who runs a club, who does training?
Yeah.
Um, did you feel pressure? Were there moments where you felt like you weren't living up to,
There,
yourself? And
yeah, there was definitely pressure, that's for sure. Just because he's very passionate, so it's just like don't want to be on the bad side of it. But
yeah.
when I was playing for him, it was not my style personally.
Mm,
I'm a very just like technical, just like relay the information and then talk to us at halftime after. But outside with him not coaching me, I thought it was perfect. I think it
mm,
helped a lot just because it's obviously training sessions. It's like I get a free private trainer basically.
yeah.
I get to wake up and I'm just like, hey, let's go to the field, and he's like, okay. Um, but when I'm not playing, he's just sitting in the corner watching our game. He's not
Mm-hmm.
involved, and then after he'd tell me, he's like, yo, you played terrible. He's like, when I played, I did not look forward to that talk at all because every time after the game, I'm not even dreading my coach. I'm just like, "Ugh, I'm
You're
gonna get in
dreading
this
your
car.
dad?
I'm gonna get in this car, and he's gonna tell me how bad I played." But I think it helped a lot. To be fair, I do.
Mm,
'Cause it was one of those. It was like, um, no matter what, it was like I always had someone to really keep it real.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think, but when I was playing, it was full of pressure. I was just playing under him. I was like, oh. I was coaching
Mm-hmm.
him after the game, and then we go home, and he's just like, "Yo, you played bad. You did this. You did that."
How long would it last? Like, how long would that last? And then at what point would it like cut off? Like, okay, let's talk about Man U and blah 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 or
Yes.
dinner.
So it was always if we had a game an hour away, whole car ride,
No.
dude. It was
Oh
awful, but
man.
it wasn't. He's like drilling into me. He's just
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"What were you doing?" Blah blah blah.
yeah,
But when
yeah.
we get home, it would be like, if I was super upset from the game, we just wouldn't speak. Like he would just leave me alone.
Mm.
But it was always like it was mainly just car ride. Like he knew right when we walked through the door, it was like but just click it off. We're home.
So
I get to go to bed.
do you have like a trauma from so when you open car doors are you like from like back in the day you're like I don't know like so I guess
Yes.
like I guess my question is right like obviously you said it helped and I also know your father and like I
Yeah,
know where
yeah.
he's coming from and but like I guess it's like what would be and everyone's different but like for you okay you get in the car and he's like hey son you didn't play really well
Yeah.
and then like but hey you know what you know like let's just work on training tomorrow or we'll work on it and then boom it's like talking about a song or like food or dinner Or was that hour necessary if it was an hour car ride? Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, what would you say would be a better balance? Like, obviously, it didn't like traumatize you, but like it
Yeah,
obviously
yeah,
did, but it leaves an imprint of like that those moments. And so it's like for parents who could be listening to this, like, what do you feel is fair? Like I feel like effort is obviously like a really good one to be like, hey, you just really didn't try hard. So like, do
yeah,
you want
yeah,
to do this? Versus like that, the spiel.
yeah, but yeah. I think it's mainly just like depending on the kid. Like you have to feel it out.
Mm,
Like if it's one of those your kid's clearly upset and just wants to be left alone, then it's just let him be with his own thoughts. Because I mean, it's different looking from the outside
yeah.
than rather being the one playing because like that ruins your week. You just like looking forward to the next game. You just want to play better the next one.
Mm,
And it's just, I guess you got to feel out your kids. With me and him, it was a lot, especially when he wasn't my coach. It was like normal, peaceful discussions, and like we would just talk about it, which I enjoyed. But it
mm,
was, yeah, just feel out your kid. A lot of kids don't like it, like just leave them alone after the game, which I understand. I was like that sometimes.
mm-hmm.
So it all depends.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like the world is collapsing, and then one being like rainbows and butterflies and unicorns, how much pressure are you really under, like in general, when you're playing youth soccer, like in club and you're playing on a competitive team? And because I guess what I'm trying to get to is like, I don't think sometimes parents realize, or coaches realize, or other fans realize, referees, like how much individually as players of the game you guys put yourself under in terms of pressure. So for you, like, I'm sure it obviously changed at times, but like overall, what would you say is like the barometer for you of like the amount of pressure you felt?
10 being the worst, you said?
Yeah, 10 being like, I don't even want to like open my eyes back up, man. Like,
Honestly, like a 7 or an 8. Like you still love it, you still like enjoy it a lot, but it's just like the feeling before and like the pressure want to let it down is it's real. It's the big thing, which
mm,
I don't think a lot of people understand. I don't think coaches understand. I think that's just one of those you got to realize that the pressure that you actually feel. Because I mean, when you're a young kid, even when you're like 17, 18, and everyone's watching you, you feel the pressure. I mean, even the teammates, your teammates, you don't want to let your teammates down.
mm-hmm,
Because I mean, no matter what, there's always at least one person in the fans, coaches, teammates that are gonna yell at you or tell
mm-hmm.
you to do something different. So it's just, yeah, I
Yeah, I
would
mean,
definitely say a 7 or 8.
I feel like that's probably one of the biggest things I've been a little bit more attuned with is trying to understand like, how can I take off the pressure? How can I depressurize the situation? And you know what's interesting? Um, one of one of my colleagues said this phrase, and he said, when you're correcting someone, it's like, hey, I know it's not easy, but try A, B, and C.
Yeah,
And I feel like when you say, hey, it's not easy, you almost like take down that wall of like
yeah. Because you
expectation
gotta,
that you should be able to do it.
yeah, because you do need to connect with like the player a little bit. You do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, you don't want to just because I mean, the more you yell at them, the more pressure they're gonna feel. And it's very hard to because then now you're just like now the player's all in their head. They're really feeling it. Whereas if you just connect, like, look, it's not your day, but you need to do, like you said, A, B, and C, then I think that's a better approach than as a parent, coach, player just freaking out on you for messing up one small little thing.
Yeah, it's controlling the environment's difficult, man. It's
Very,
that's one thing that
very,
I would say I put a lot more emphasis on the environment, like the parent coaching type stuff, and like the pressures, and like even like parents saying their kid's name before the game starts, and like I know it's all in good spirit, but
yeah.
it's not helping at all.
The environment's so important.
Oh, yeah. Thankfully, I think when we were together, I think yeah, our teams were always in check. I don't think we really
Yeah.
had like a really big issue. Um, so let's fast forward. Like, so now you are actually coaching.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw some questions at you because I'm just curious, like as a coach. Uh, what does a Jonny Curren team look like?
Very,
AKA, what is the identity?
it's gonna sound corny, but it's very free flowing. It's just like
Mm,
team morale's really good. It's just spirits are high. And I mean, I like to base like if I have a team, base it more off I like building from the back tactically. So
mm,
like, playing forward, playing small touch, passing it forward. Um but it's honestly just my first thing is you got to keep the team morale high
okay.
for sure. You got to keep kids, I mean, happy is just like a big thing. You have to keep them and keep them to want to keep coming out,
Mm.
which is important. And then after that, it's easier to teach them what system you want to play if they're actually willing to listen to you.
So I'll throw a curveball. So if I were to ask one of your players, what does your coach want you to do when you have the ball with no pressure, regardless of where you are on the field, and you have the ball and you're in possession with no pressure? What does Coach Jonny want his players to be thinking about?
Awesome. I don't really know. I mean, I feel like that's on the player. Like, I feel like I like leaving it up to the player's decision mostly, but like just whatever decision you feel is best for you in that position. If you want to dribble forward, if you want to pass it, if you want to whatever position, if you want to shoot it, whatever you think is best for that certain situation, which I guess in practice or before the game, I'm trying to insinuate what I want you to do.
Mm.
I mean, after that on the field, it's pretty much the player's decision, in my opinion.
That's see, this is what's so fun is that I think what people forget is that it's all subjective
Yeah.
because of how you described your team wanting to play from out of the back. That's pretty much saying we want to play more possession based,
Yeah.
right? So I'll flip it. So, for example, my goal for the players that are currently under me is if I pose that same question, if you have the ball, I don't care what position you are, and we are in possession and you have no pressure on you, can you score? Now, the beautiful thing is, if you can't score, second thing I want them to think about is can you put someone in a position to score? And if you can't put someone in a position to score, can you find the highest target closest to the goal so we can skip all these lines? So that's what's so fun about it. So because there's no right or wrong, it's just different
Yeah.
ideas, right?
It's
Like,
all subjective. Yeah.
yeah. So, like, for example, I would want my outside back if he can shoot and he's at the halfway line. I'm talking about small sided, like, go shoot. Like, why pass? If you can shoot and you're close enough on a 7v7 field, why not shoot? And I just feel like for me, it's more about like being able to centralize an idea, right? Like,
Yeah.
yes, we want to combine, but if we don't have to combine in this area, let's combine. So, okay, prime example. You're gonna like this. We broke down film last night, and it was the Man City Arsenal game. Okay, for the
Okay.
Community Shield. Great highlights, by the way, if you haven't seen them. Um, Man City tried to play a ball in behind. The Arsenal player won it, played to Partey. He was in the defending third, back to goal. No one behind him, Johnny, for 15 yards almost. His instinct is to play it squarish slash backwards negatively when he has no one behind him. Holland picks it off. They do a little 1-2 combination. Ball falls to Rodri, and he shoots. He misses by like just a hair. So again, it's like what's fun is from one side of it, based on what you said, it's like, well, yeah, he's trying to build out the back.
Yeah.
And then I'm saying, well, no. Can you score? Okay, no. But can you turn? And can you go away from the defending third and alleviate someone like Holland picking that ball up from
Yeah.
you? And then, so that's what I'm saying. There's no, so it'd be so fun to hear what Arteta would say. Like, is he
It's like
okay with him making that pass? Like,
yeah. It's like a Tan Hag ball. Tan Hag's thing is you have to have a shot in like 30, 45 seconds on goal. He's like, you need to win it in 30 seconds, then you have to have a shot in like 30, 45 seconds. I don't know the exact time, but he's
right.
just like, you have to win it and then go to goal instantly.
Which makes sense for when you watch Man U right now. Like
Yeah.
that's exactly how they play. Like
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. It's so fun to have conversations with people who are open to the conversation and not saying like one way is the right way.
I mean,
Because
yeah,
yeah,
there's never just one way. It's always,
yeah, it's like like one of my teams right now in a 4-4-2, they play amazing. Every time I tinker, 4-3-3, 3-5-2, shambles. And
yeah.
it's nothing to do with them. It's just like
It's
they're
just
just
the
comfortable.
system.
Yeah, it's just they're in it. They're comfortable, and that's all. It's all relative to like who they are and that kind of stuff. But so I guess with coaching, like I can imagine, and I've seen you a few times. Like you're also smiling. You're not yelling and screaming. Um, have you thought about potentially like where you want to take coaching? Like before we get into like some other stuff, like one, why are you coaching? And then two, like, have you thought about like where you want to go with it?
To answer that first question, I just really enjoy it. I
Mm,
it's kind of one of those like you miss playing every day, so it's just like want to go out there and just like still like be with the ball
mm,
and see like how these players develop.
mm.
And then two, probably not like far. I'm just kind of just doing it because I miss it. It's like just one of the it's like a hobby now. It's just one of those things I picked up as like a oh, I enjoy it, so why not?
Mm.
Yeah.
What's something that you go, oh, I didn't realize this about coaching. I didn't realize my dad, my brother, who's coached, myself, other coaches you've had, like, oh, I didn't realize that they had these, you know, problems to solve or to keep in the back of their head. Like, what's
Yeah.
been the biggest, like, or what are some of the things that you go, yeah, now I kind of have more appreciation for like what they do.
The one big thing is not even tactical, it's the pressure of, like, everyone but, like, the parents behind you.
Oh,
Because
okay, all
dude, I think
right.
that the pressure from them behind you is real. It's like everyone's staring at you, and I feel like coaches get blamed, like, for a loss a
Mm,
lot of the
mm,
times. Because like, there's players that don't play, and then they go in the car, and they're just like, "Oh, if he did this, we would've won the game, or if he didn't do this, we would've won." So I feel like it's like they also have a similar pressure, but it's as a player, it's just like different forms of it, if that makes sense.
yeah. How are you coping with those with the audience behind you? Because it's actually you actually are performing. Like you are performing
Yeah,
in front of
you
them.
are. It's like you're the what
What do
is
you
it?
do? Do you
The
drink
it's
like water?
orchestra.
Do you
Yeah,
chew
man.
gum? Like what do you do? Are you like
I try
Carlo?
and ignore it. I just like if I feel like a little I just go grab a sip of water and then I'll go stand back up and I'll just take it, I guess. There's not really much you can do. It's just you gotta accept it.
So you're like Pep when they score, he goes and gets his water bottle and drinks like 3 or 4 sips, and it's like, come on, man. Like,
Depending on the goal, I'll celebrate.
yeah,
I'll celebrate, man.
okay,
I'll pull a Jose.
sliding on those knees, eh,
Nah, not that far, but I'll celebrate.
man. Um, if I were to ask a player why why do I love playing for Coach Johnny, what would you hope would be like some of their answers? Maybe not again exact every single time, but based on what you described is your philosophy, I can kind of think about what they would say based on how you described it and also just knowing who you are. But I'm curious, like, what would you hope if, like, if some other person saw, oh, who's your coach? Oh, coach Johnny at United. Oh, okay, what's he like? What would you hope they would say?
Probably two things, or I mean three. I mean, obviously one, he knows what he's doing. Obviously, every coach wants
Okay,
that.
all right,
Um,
validation.
two, yeah,
Yeah.
validation. Who doesn't want validation?
Okay.
Um, he's understanding probably,
Mm,
and then he cares. That's probably my third one.
mm.
Those are probably the big three.
That last one's interesting because that's exactly what Brian said, that he, when he said like looking for a youth coach, like you want someone who just cares for the team and obviously you individually, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
which I think is a big thing. You don't want someone there that just like you can tell just isn't really in it.
what aside from the parents being in the background, like what has been like the biggest challenge of coaching the state? Like when you look back, like yeah, like I messed up in that moment. Like I could do better next time. Like what's been like that kind of point where you're like, yeah, like that was hard.
Probably the tough thing there is probably like the subbing situation
Mm,
as like a coach, because like I coached like younger boys at the time, and it was very because like when the team's flowing, but especially at a young age, you're like you want everyone to play,
mm,
like you need to get them in at the right time.
mm,
So I feel like obviously I've made some mistakes when I first started learning with like making a substitution at the right time or even putting someone on at all. So I
mm,
think that's something that coaches may or may not get enough credit
mm.
for sure.
Um, oh my gosh, I had a question that was like boiling in my head as you were giving that answer. That's the tough part about doing this. You like you have something,
You
you're like,
think of
oh,
one.
I can't wait
Yeah.
to ask this question, and like he's giving another great answer, and it's like, oh, now I can't remember. I guess to wrap up with the coaching piece of it, like if a parent came to you and said like, what is it that you're going to provide for my daughter or son to get better, like what are you going to say?
I never had that talk, so I guess that's a good thing.
Oh, okay, let's do it right now. So okay,
Dude, I don't know what I would say,
no, let's do, that's what
honestly.
I'm saying. That's perfect. Now let's walk through it. So okay, hey Johnny, little Michael here has been trying out for you for like 2 weeks. He loves your team. He loves you. But what is it that you're going to provide for my son to be able to potentially reach potentially his dream? I know there's a lot of variables, but he wants to go professional. What kind of environment are you going to create for my son?
Dude, that's such a hard question.
Ah, I love it.
I don't
And
even
again, it's no
know.
right or wrong answer, right? It's all
Yeah,
subjective. But
I'm trying to think.
yeah,
That's probably what I do. I'd say, hold on, give me 5 minutes. Let me think real quick.
you're like, hey dad, someone is asking this question.
Call Mike. I'll be like, yo, Mike.
Put me on speaker. No, I'm just
Um,
kidding.
I guess the one thing I would try to put them in the best situation for them to go have a better opportunity is probably like my one thing. I would
So
try my best to put them in the best situation to like improve with either to a better team or scouts or tournaments that will help them get looked at or something in that realm.
So essentially, you're saying when my son's ready to move to another club, which will affect the current team potentially, that you're gonna give your blessing and not make it, feel like we're abandoning your team.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's a
Because I
big
mean,
one.
I think it's a big thing. Like a lot of people forget. It's just like they're worried about the team, but at the end of the day, you're playing for you. So it's
Hmm.
like you need to go and do your own thing. Like you need to go and go for your goal in the sport. So if that means leaving the team you're comfortable with to a better one to like get opportunities, I think that's honestly so important.
Do you think that you came to that conclusion based on your situation?
I think because like I mean I loved my team that I was playing for at the time, but
Yeah.
it was I obviously was like one of those I was like, oh, I don't. I'm comfortable. I want to go. And the little push, and then after a couple of training sessions, I was like, yeah, it's probably the best decision for me. And it ended up working out. So yeah, probably.
All right. Um, so let's talk about now, aside from playing soccer and coaching soccer, which has been obviously like mainly your entire life. Um, Tell the audience a little bit about, your project that obviously is a accumulation of a team. And again, first of all, just congratulations. I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy for you. It's just to me, it's like mind boggling. Like, it's just like, because
Yeah.
it's mind boggling because you're so happy that it happened. Like,
Yeah.
you're aware of people who have all these success on social media, but like, to have it be someone like yourself that's so humble and quiet, keep to yourself, including your whole family, really. I mean, your older brother Sam, same way. But like, tell me a little bit about how that started and like where it's at and where you guys are trying to go.
Yeah. So I was, I think, 17 at the time, and my brother just was basically like, "Hey, I want to try and do this YouTube thing." And it was now it's me, my brother, and our one friend that my brother actually coached. He's 2 years older than me.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, and so um my brother basically started the whole thing. I was like, "Oh, I'll give it a shot." Not thinking like anything. Like I was like, "Okay, I think it could do something," but not thinking like what it's at now.
Mm,
And I guess we just started doing it. It's been like 3 years now, posting, doing all that. Um and I guess it just started working out. So it was just one of those holy, oh my God, can't believe it. And it was a very shocking, I would say. It was one of those things where it was just like, wow, I can't believe where it's at.
mm,
So, and I guess where we want to go with it is just like keep going. I guess it's like social media is just like one of those things. It's just there's always like improvement no matter like what. You can always get better numbers or better videos or more experiences that you want to do. So it's very limitless, which is like I guess the best part about it.
yeah. Tell me how did the name come about?
My
It's
brother.
so simple. I mean, I messed it
Yeah,
up earlier, but like it is so
yeah.
simple
So
though.
we had a different name. It's not. It wasn't the. It was it had a cuss word in it. It was the F It series,
Okay.
and then
Not okay.
yeah,
All right. Yeah.
yeah. So
All
so we
right.
did that for a year, and my our manager at the time was just like, "Yo, it's you can't get really any deals because of your name." So we had to change it.
Hey,
So we
son,
said,
go watch this channel. It has the F
yeah,
word in it.
yeah.
Yeah,
So we sat because we had no idea what we were doing at the time.
yeah, yeah.
So we sat down and we were just like, what can we do? So I guess we kind of made up the name in like 2 days and we just went with it. So now it's one of those, it's like too late to change it, and it's like we're there with it. I mean, we like it, so it's just now it's forever. So
I just love when I saw you last week, and I was like, "Did your brother design the color or pick the color?" Because
yeah.
like, it's just such a smart color. Like it's so like, oh, that's nice. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
he,
and
he
you're
looked
like,
he
that's
looked up
100% Sam.
he looked up the most welcoming colors. And this color came up and he was like, "Oh, that's a good color."
Sounds like it's quite simple sometimes. Sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes. I do want to like kind of dig a little bit more. Like, I think some people have the perception like, oh, it's easy. You buy a camera, you film something, you upload it, and you're done. That's clearly not what it's like.
Yeah.
I just did my fourth or fifth podcast with Camille, and I did a whole like intro with like words in it now, and it's like I literally like had to just like Google how to do it.
Yeah.
But like your guys' videos are obviously like top notch. Like what is it like? Like what's a day in a life of like being a YouTuber? By the way, I think that's so funny people use that phrase.
Yeah.
Your dad said that the other day. He's like, "Oh yeah, my kids are YouTubers," and I'm like, "That's
It's
so
very
funny,
weird.
man." Yeah,
It
yeah,
doesn't sound real.
yeah,
But, it definitely looking from the outside in, you're like, oh, it's very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone can do it, which actually, I mean, it is the case. Anyone can do it, which I
Mm-hmm.
guess is what's so good about it. But it's just like a trial and error type of thing.
Mm.
So like from the start, it was like you obviously aren't getting like we weren't getting good numbers. It's just like this is our third year and we're still not even at like the best of the best numbers yet, like
Mm.
what we want to be at. So it's just trial and error basically. Whatever you watch videos to improve, you do all that, and then whatever you see is working, it works. So then you do it again, and then it's just like that's why it's so limitless. But the day in the life, we just meet from it's a lot of thinking. So you
Really?
just sit down. Yeah, you
See,
just
this
sit
is,
down.
this is what I love to hear because like that's right there. That's I don't think people would think that. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
let's
it's
just go
just
do this.
yeah, it's like you sit down and you just start throwing ideas out, and sometimes we're like it'll take us like over a week, and we just sat down for like hours each day just to think of something.
Wow.
And then the editing process is obviously a lot. I luckily don't have to, I'm not the one who like edits the videos. So it's,
Mm.
but yeah, a majority of it's just like all ideas that just like you ping off of each other. And then it's just like, oh, that idea's not good. Or that idea is kind of good, but we got to fix it a little more.
Mm.
And then you want to do your own thing. So you got to like figure out how you can do it differently from other people. There's a lot of like moving parts when it comes to everything.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, how long has it been in existence now? 5 years.
Yeah, because me and my brother did vlogs for just like fun for like a year and a half, 2 years. And
Mm.
now this like big thing has been going for like 4 years, I think. 3 years? I think like three years, I would say.
So the title is for fun, and then the at is the at for fun guys. So
Yeah.
I was
All right.
partially correct in the intro.
Yeah, our on the name on TikTok was taken, I think. So we had
Ah,
to we had to figure something else out.
there's other people in the world.
Yeah.
So if people were to search you, it would be the number four fun.
Yeah. And then it I guess on either platform it'd pop up.
But on YouTube, so but at YouTube, right? The at is the number four fun guys.
Yeah.
Okay, I think because I said the four fun guys, it probably sounds like a little bit.
I heard funny, that's why. So I was like, oh
Oh, okay, okay. Because I felt bad. I was like, how did I mess that up, man? I was
no,
like,
yeah.
okay, okay, okay. Um, if you were to promote one of the videos that you've done obviously a bunch, but like, what's the one that you'd be like, hey, if you just watch this podcast, like, and you want to go check out our channel, like, what would be like the one video that you think would be like they would get hooked, line, and sinkered on your guys' channel?
Let me look through them.
I know there's so many.
There's probably two that I enjoyed the most, which is funny, and they're like really recent. Um, us tricking LeBron James into adopting us or adopting one of us was probably that was an experience. And then beating Vegas using a robot was probably the one we just did recently was probably the I had a lot of fun with that one for sure.
All right. Yeah, that would be great. No, I just hope that you guys have continued success. And I, honestly, you just brought up
Thank you.
uh you made me you reminded me about the travel you've done. So let's finish off with some travel stuff, and then maybe we'll conclude it up. I appreciate your time. I know you probably have a long day of editing to do,
Yeah, you're all right.
and then also Man City plays, which is gotta watch that Man City game against Burnley. Which I love how they put Man City against Burnley the first game because
I
it's
know
like
opening day.
company versus Pep, blah blah
Yeah,
blah. Which obviously
it was
we
in the script.
yeah we're not mad. We're like yeah come on
Nah,
let's go.
it's a good first
But
game.
yeah. What where have you been? You mentioned like Thailand, Japan. Like you've
Yeah,
been more
so
places than I've been.
I have in my notes actually.
Well, that's cool.
I try keeping track.
That's a smart
So
idea.
I've been to Iceland, France, Spain, Italy, Thailand, Singapore, Guatemala, England, and Japan.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's honestly it's a blessing for sure. It's like my mom told me she's like you've been to more places than I've been, and I'm your mom. So
Um, tell me, what's the roughest travel that you've had that you're just like, I'm never doing that again? Because I actually relate with you because you and I talked about it last week. I actually went to China when I was 17 twice.
okay,
Went to Shanghai and Hong Kong.
okay,
And man, I think it was the first flight. There was a crying baby.
that's the worst.
And it's like when you're 17, you don't have perspective. But like,
You're just like, can you be quiet?
yeah, but like now you think back, like I feel bad for the parents because like as long as the parents are attempting to
Yeah,
address the crying, which again they're attempting, so as someone who's not involved, you're like, okay, like put myself in their shoes, like they probably feel embarrassed. But
yeah,
dude,
they're
I think
stressing.
it's like a seven. It's like it's almost an all day flight. Like it's not an all day flight. It's not 24 hours, but it's pretty darn close. Dude, it was miserable, dude.
I've pretty
Miserable.
much had the same thing. Yeah, mine was Thailand. I loved it. I would love to just like poof and I'm there again for sure. But that flight was like it was like 18 hours, something like that. And the whole time the dude next to me has like the flight time.
Oh, so it's just like
And
slowly.
I'm just like looking at it and I'm trying not to, but it's just slowly going. It was
Mm,
the longest flight I've ever been on.
mm.
Smell, it's just it's a whole disaster.
Um, I think you'll appreciate this. So when I went to Shanghai, we check in. We're at the highest floor in the hotel in China. I didn't know what typhoons were until I went to China. So it's my father and I, and all of a sudden, like he's kind of like out of it, like he's kind of falling asleep, and I was like jet lagged, so I was like wide awake. So keep in mind again, we're on the highest floor.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like the sprinkler systems for the fire,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
water started dripping like through the hole, and I'm like tapping my dad on the shoulder, like, "Hey man, there's like water coming from the ceiling," like,
Yeah, you're like
and his response is like, "Oh, it's fine, don't worry about it." I'm like, pretty sure that's not fine, but
yeah.
let's see where this goes. And then I kid you not, Johnny, the sprinkler head pops off and just water starts gushing.
That is frightening.
And like I was like, this is awesome at the time. I was like 17, 16. I was like, this
Oh,
is so
you're
much
having a
fun.
blast.
Yeah, he's more like our clothes is getting wet, our room now we have to change. And so what happened was they were doing construction on the ceiling. Not like of like
Oh, and it
the
just
room, but like of
broke.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
And a typhoon hit and just like gushing water from every hole that was like I'm talking about like the shower head everywhere, dude. Like water was gushing. Like it was awesome. Like that would never happen. Well, I guess it could
That's
happen
so
somewhere like in
funny.
North Carolina, maybe or something like that.
I
But
mean, I
like
guess it's like a once in a lifetime experience.
it was, man. How was the food, by the way, when you traveled? Did you enjoy like trying all of the different foods?
Yeah, honestly, I might get hate for it. I thought Spain's food was the worst food I've ever had in my life.
What?
It
What?
was
Okay, hold on. So
terrible.
before you go on, what is Spain food? So I'm gonna think. I think about Spain food. Dang. I think about red meat.
They have a lot of like fish.
Okay,
They do
okay.
pizza there, pasta
Mm,
there, and all that. I'm not a huge fan of fish, so it's like that puts me at I like lose a whole category. And
mm.
then their first of all, their pasta there is the worst thing I think I've ever had. They should never
Ooh,
make pasta ever again.
ooh. Really?
Yeah,
What
dude.
is it about it? Just the
Or at least
ingredients?
like the ones that I had. So I
Uh-huh.
feel like I just need to try new ones. But it just tasted like I don't know, it just didn't taste right. It was something about it. And then the it's like it was just pizza. So but out of all the places I'd probably say like that was the worst one. But at
Okay.
least the guys that were with me, like they agreed. Like they had the same experience. So it's not just me.
Okay. All right. What was your best food experience outside of the US that you're like, "Oh, I love this food."
Best food experience.
Cuz like I remember being in China and like experiencing the hot pot for the first time.
Wha-
You know what a hot pot is, right?
No, I don't.
No? Okay, so
No.
you know the yin yang sign?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so imagine that in a like a in a bowl.
Okay.
So you have two sides. Then there's a flame underneath, and there's broth on one side and a spicy side on the other side. And then you get like frozen meat, frozen fish, shrimp, veggies, and you dip it in it. It warms up. You take it back out.
Yeah, that's not
Hot pot. Yeah, man.
probably probably Italy. Probably. I'm a big pasta guy,
I
so it's
know,
just
right?
like I mean, right when
Oh,
I
so
went
the pasta
there.
in Italy is good, but not in Spain,
Yeah, yeah,
apparently.
yeah, yeah,
Jeez, man. Um, we'll wrap up with this. So when I was in Italy I went there twice now. So I gained 10 pounds each time that I went to Italy, personally, because I just the food is just
yeah.
amazing.
You just yeah.
So you
You have
mentioned
to.
yeah, but you mentioned pasta, so I'm curious. Aside from pasta, because I'm curious, I think you're gonna be. So my favorite thing, and I'm like my mouth's watering thinking about it. I can barely spit my words out because I'm like just thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's the focaccia bread with the mozzarella, the basil, and a tomato, like put through like a little oven, and so it gets like crispy, and then they put like olive oil on it, and you put it like it's like a sandwich, and like
Okay.
what's so funny is my point is like I remember going initially to like, oh, I'm gonna get like the meat version, like I'm gonna get like meat and cheese and the focaccia
Yeah.
bread, thinking, oh yeah, that's gonna be good, dude. The like vegetarian type was the mozzarella, the tomato with the
Oh,
basil.
really?
It's I mean, I get it every
I've never had
day.
it. I've never had it.
Oh, we gotta go back, dude. We
Yeah, we
gotta.
do.
That's
Dude, I'm so American. I was just like pasta and pizza.
jeez.
Like
How is your nutrition, by the way? Because you're so tall and like, but like, is your nutrition? Is it
it
pretty
used
bad?
to be good. Yeah,
It
it's
used to
pretty
be
bad.
good.
Yeah, it's
Is
pretty
that just
bad.
like a growing up thing? That was like an early 20 thing now.
Yeah, it's one of those I'm just like it's gonna hit me. I'm just like, oh, I have a fast metabolism, so I'm just like I'm good. It'll hit me eventually to where I'm just like
So you're gonna be skinny fat.
yeah.
So
I'm
you're
trying
gonna
I'm a
appear skinny, but inside it's like, oh, he's a mess, man.
yeah, dude. Nah, I'm prove.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm playing Sunday League now, so I gotta eat better.
Ooh. Well, okay. I promise. Last question.
Yeah, you're good.
What is your pregame meal? Like, if you did create a pregame meal, like, what would be your pregame meal, if anything?
I it's funny because I barely ate before games, which isn't a good thing. Everyone should eat before games, but
Mm.
probably I'm so simple, it's just like oatmeal and
Okay.
like I guess like a fruit,
So some
probably just like
carbs,
very small.
a little bit of natural sugar.
Yeah, just super small because I whenever I wake up in the morning, I'm not hungry, so it's just like and the nerves of it, like playing a game before, I'm just like I can't get
Yeah.
myself to just eat a bunch of food.
No, I hear you. All right, man. Well, listen, thank you so much for
No,
your
thank you.
time because I know you guys are extremely busy with not just your business, but like your other obligations that you have, and you have a huge family. So
Yeah,
time is precious. But again, congratulations on everything that you currently have achieved,
thank
and
you.
it's awesome to see you coaching and giving back. It's fun to be around you while you're coaching too, just to kind of
Yeah,
like bounce things off of you.
yeah,
I look forward to spending more time with each other, and then yeah, maybe we'll do like a part two in the future where it's like 2 or 3 years have gone by, and I have a nice
yeah.
setup that I was talking to you about
Yes,
is like
sir.
the dream. But until then, man, just thank you so much, and I wish you all the best of luck with like your businesses, and hopefully
Yeah,
your health gets a little bit
yeah. You need to improve on that. That's the one part that I definitely need.
better. Yeah. All right, man. Well, I'm going to conclude this, and then I will be in contact very shortly.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Johnny.
Thank you.